Are you filled with fear, doubt, worry about the future of our country? Do you feel the urgency to act before it's too late? If yes, then this podcast is for you. It's time for us to confront the critical issues threatening our nation's fabric, our democracy itself, regardless of our political stance. If you are ready to face reality, handle the tough questions, and find real solutions, then here's your host, Debilyn Molineaux.
Welcome to the Terrified Nation podcast. I'm your host, Debilyn Molineaux. Can we save it? Well, that's what we're exploring in this podcast series. And for me, the answer is yes. Yes, we can. And we must. So each week we explore alternatives to being afraid. And we ask ourselves questions like, now what? As we interview guests who have also gone from being afraid or angry or hopeless to become advocates for our nation so that we can live into the promise that the founders laid before us, each one of us dedicating a portion of our lives to a better future. And I like to start each show with a question that we'll explore together. Today's question is, how does the economy impact our ability to be active citizens? And joining us today is David Green of the Wellbeing Economic Alliance of California. Now, David is fascinated by what brings about healthy, joyful collaboration and how we might use that to co-create the world that we would like to see. So he participates in initiatives that are focused on reimagining education, fostering a well-being economy, and of course, healthy democracy. David, welcome to the show.
Hi, good to see you again.
And it is so perfect that you said yes to this interview request, because today on Terrified Nation, we're actually going to create or help you imagine your future. And given the work that you do, I'm hoping that it's going to be pretty easy. What do you think?
I'm looking forward to it, yes.
Well, you're participating in a national research project where we imagine what we want for ourselves, for our own lives. And this is about a preferred future, not what we think is likely or probable. So we get to ignore like all the chaos that's in society and in the media today and really focus on what our heart's desire is. So to look into your preferred future life, we're going to do some time travel in our handy dandy Zoom time machine here and go somewhere 2 to 20 years in the future. How far do you want to go?
Let's go for 10 years today.
10 years. All right. So let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths as we climb into our Zoom time machine together and get whisked away into 2035. Here's the thing. When we get there, you're going to observe your 10-year older self. So you get to continue being yourself, but just observe what's happening and respond to the questions with what you see. Got it?
Sounds good. I do.
All right. Thanks, David. Well, here we are pulling into the 2035 station and ding, we're going to climb out of our Zoom time capsule here. And the first question that I have you is like geographically, literally, like, where are we? Can you describe where you live in 2035?
I am in the same place I'm now, which happens to be Playa del Rey, California. I'm finding it important to be in one place and be in place and build community where I'm at.
So tell us a little bit about what you're going to be most proud of, what you observe in your 10-year older self that you're most proud of in Playa del Rey in 2035.
I have been living in this space for 25 years and barely know my neighbors. Well, no, 35 years now. 10 years ago, I barely knew my neighbors. And I've done a lot of work to cultivate community here in Playa del Rey and get to know people, participate in local political decisions, political groups, as well as just community groups and getting together with my neighbors and considering that it wasn't like that the first 25 years that I was here because I was busy doing other things. I'm proud that I've built those connections.
All right. So what you're most proud of is helping build community connections in the physical place where you live there in California. Anything on personal life, family, relationships? I'm just going to do a little prompting there to round
Sure.
it out.
Well, there's one thing which I've also lost the 30 pounds that I probably gained over the 5 years before that. So that's one thing. But no, I think on a personal level, what I'm proud of and what I'm finding is what I do with my days. Is it living into my values? Is it living into what's important to me and not getting super attached to specific things like being married, being single, how many people I'm doing this or that with, or how many shows I've been to. It's more how I'm showing up as a person and the quality of the connections that I'm making with people that are important to me, as opposed to other material things or expectations. Trying to really loosen up on a lot of expectations that I had at earlier points in my life.
Yeah, so I hear, kind of a relaxing into uh your community with deep connections, a sense of health about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to kind of follow up on that thread just a little bit with the next question, which was, how will you spend your day? Like on an average day, just look at yourself in 2035. What are you doing?
I like to start off reading the news and being aware of what's going on and digesting it. Doesn't always produce pleasant reactions, but I move through those reactions. And then I move into work mode, which is getting involved in one of my many projects and expressing myself through that, bringing the creativity to the different things that I'm doing to see how I can be engaged, participate, inspire others. Creating, helping others to get engaged is very important to me.
So you're waking up in the morning and you're reviewing some news, and then you're going into your work mode, which is about this kind of community engagement, is what I'm hearing, and then helping other people reach out and become engaged.
Yeah,
What
trying to.
happens after work?
Well, hopefully there's some exercise and enjoying the beautiful beach and nature, taking a walk, perhaps getting together with some friends or community members, having good discussions and some laughs and joy, but also not keeping things too structured so that there's time for just downtime or collisions, not the good kind of collision, not the bad kind, where you run into someone that you weren't expecting to run to and have the time and headspace to really connect, as opposed to be thinking, oh my God, I've got to get here, I've got to do this errand, I've got to do that. So, not getting things so tightly packed that there's no time for deeper connection.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that so by the way, one of my other friends that I interviewed for this, Pedro, he talked about the synchronicity of his life. Like he'll think about somebody and then he runs into them. And so I'm hearing like you want that kind of you're calling them collisions, but you want that kind of synchronicity to happen for you as well. And I'm also hearing a sense of spaciousness in so it's not that you're not busy all day or that you don't have purpose, but that you also have space to be flexible and
Mhm.
allow some of that synchronicity to pop in.
Yes, absolutely. Or also to follow my mood, not every day am I feeling completely energized to focus in the direction that I thought I was going to focus, and to just react to how I'm feeling as opposed to forcing it. So
Yeah, well, and you're kind of leading into the next question, which was, how do you feel most of the time?
it's a wide range of emotions. There's definitely a sense of peace and purpose, but there's also anger and frustration and sense of stuckness at times as I'm trying to overcome challenges that I don't know the answers to. And just also trying,
I want to prompt you here just a little bit because this is your preferred future.
yeah,
And so in your preferred future, you're still being angry because you're stuck
yes,
sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm happy to slightly change it, but yeah, I'll explain why.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to start
Yeah,
or keep
go
going?
for it, because I think this is interesting. Most
Okay.
people don't say, I want to feel angry most of the time.
No, well, I want to experience my emotions. That's what I'm saying. That it's helped me over the last 15 years to get in touch with the fact that I'm angry and be okay with being angry and let it go at a certain point and sort of move past it rather than trying to be peaceful and beautiful all the time. That I have this body which does experience things. I have this life experience which does not always go the way that I wanted to, and to just allow that to happen and to not get overly stuck in each of those positions.
Yeah, in some of my spiritual practice, I would say that you're doing some shadow work, or you're allowing the so-called negative emotions to arise, not suppressing them,
Right.
which causes spiritual bypassing, but it really uh, digesting them and feeling them and then letting them go.
Yeah, and also using them as signals to point to something else that maybe I need to be aware of or observe or learn about myself. Or I think it's, for me, it's okay to not be happy about the outcome of something, but not
Yeah,
get stuck in it. So,
right,
yeah,
right. Well, thank you for expanding on that, because I think that'll be really helpful. And as you're again, as you're looking at yourself in 2035, and you've got more connections locally, you have a healthier lifestyle, you have spaciousness, you're running into people. What can you identify as your three, you can go up to five priority values, or you might want to say qualities that you're living
sure.
by? Yeah.
So one of the things I do is run the U.S. Values Alliance. So I've given a lot of thought to what my values are over the last 25 years. And I flip the order sometimes, but I pretty much focus on them in the order of love, peace, learning, creativity, and connection. And I've swapped them out over the years. They're not hard and fast. It's always got to be those for the rest of my life. And I also play with the words to see how they might show up in slightly different context or different meanings, or when I'm not living those values. So, but those are the five that have sort of been with me for quite some time now.
Can you run those by me again, please?
Sure,
Because I had some background noise here and I was distracted.
not a problem. Love, peace, learning, connecting. Look at that. I forgot one. Love, peace, connecting, learning. Well, I'm going to add joy. How about that?
Joy is great. We can
Yeah.
always add joy.
Yes.
That is awesome. So let's think about now the larger community where you're living there in Playa del Rey. And what does that community that supports your future need to include or provide?
The community, I think friendliness is a really important part. People acknowledging each other as humans coexisting in relatively close space with each other, um, making compromises to for the greater good, and acknowledging that different people are going to come at things from different perspectives, different needs, and also wanting to actually spend time with each other. Not simply being, oh, that's the person who happens to live three doors down, but actually acknowledging and maybe finding um, the value for themselves in connecting with each other and feeling like an actual community as opposed to people who happen to be near each other.
I keep quoting Amy McIsaac from a previous interview as well, and she said the community has to want to community.
That's
And
great.
Yeah, and that has been like the most succinct way I've heard. I've had other folks talk about the neighborliness, like the community needs to feel neighborly. You've said friendly. And how much easier is it, here we are in 2025, and it's so much easier to just like go in our house and close the door and turn on Netflix and not have to rub up against irritating other people or being irritated by them. Instead of like going out and having a really soul connected, fulfilling experience.
Well, in my 10-year future, Netflix no longer exists. It's Freeflix.
Ah, it's Reflex.
Free, as in don't need to pay every month a subscription. So
Got it. Netflix is free. Okay. But again, we don't need to binge watch everything
right,
because we're avoiding our neighbors.
that's yes, I understood. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Because I hear a lot of folks talk about the binge watching just is so much easier than going out and doing civic engagement and talking to people. Well,
absolutely.
we're down to the last question, and then I'll have an invitation for you for the end of the interview. And this last question is really just thinking about, so we're going to come back to 2025 and think about now that community that you just described in 2035 that supports your future. And is there anything that you are doing now or that you could do that would help influence or co-create that community to support your future life?
Yes, thank you. There are some things that I'm doing. I participated with a group um, called Cool Blocks, where it was about getting people in your building or on your block to participate in climate preparedness and other things. That did not go as hoped. But through that, I ended up meeting one of my neighbors who was also running a Cool Blocks program, and she had been running eco committee in the complex that I live in. So I've been working with Tara for the last 2 years, and recently started getting a little more creative in some of the ways to bring in new community members into our group and posting more in our Facebook community group, putting flyers up around the complex. So it sort of goes back to what I was saying before, where we were sort of stuck in that we weren't getting participation at the levels that we wanted. So we stayed in the stuckness for a while, and eventually some creativity showed up and allowed us to bring in some new members. So it's a small group, like 15 people out of probably 700 that live in this community. But we're continuing to try and be creative and adventurous about how we make it appealing for people to want to be a part of it. So
Yeah, well, and I remember when I used to live in a big 400 unit apartment building, and they had like a monthly event for residents in the apartment building. And so I'm imagining that community room for you being full for every meeting that you host, and y'all are having so much fun that everybody wants to be there, and
exactly.
they get FOMO if they don't get invited, right?
Yes, that's great. I love the way you described it. Right. That these things aren't supposed to be boring and staid and something that we dread going to. They're supposed to be something that we want to be at. Right, correct.
Yeah, well, and I might just offer that you might take this personal visioning tool that you've just gone through and use it as some reflective questionings with your group.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, this is one way that this tool can be used to help you and your community hold the community vision together.
Yeah,
That supports everyone's preferred future life.
I love that. I'm gonna bring it up to Tara.
Cool. Well, and I'll make sure you get the PDF. You can actually find it online. And for listeners of the podcast, you can also find this online at americanfuture.us. And if you click on share your future story, it actually takes you to all these questions that we just asked David. And you can download it yourself and use it wherever you want. So, David, I do want to end our interview here with an invitation. And this invitation is to think about this future life you've just created and imagined for yourself, and spend 5 minutes every day feeling the feelings, walking through your day, being proud of what you've accomplished, and drop in a sense of awe and wonder And the reason that we want to put awe and wonder, or gratitude even, into that mix is that it develops a neuroscience connection in our brains that we begin to look for where that matches up in our real life. We will subconsciously move towards that vision by using this 5-minute a day visualization. So that's my invitation to you and to everyone out there in Terrified Nation.
Thank you. I love that. That's something that would be a good thing to include in my daily practice. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and David, I just really want to thank you for really sharing your future with the Terrified Nation and providing your work in community building there in California, as well as, you know, what you've contributed through the Wellbeing Alliance to help us all create a community that works for all. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And in closing today's show, I'd like to thank you, the listeners, for giving a damn about our nation. We may be a terrified nation today, but we can do better. We can save the USA. Join me next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Terrified Nation. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to subscribe to the show. You can get advance notice on new episodes and bonus content by signing up. Head over to terrifiednation.com and join us on the next episode.